Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining. We still have some people joining the webinar, so we're going to give it just one more minute here. All right, we are at a few minutes after the hour, so I think we can go ahead and get started. We have a lot of you that are already signed in and ready to go. Thanks so much for being here. My name is Pete Schott. I'm the Director of Product Marketing at Zenput. I'm also joined by my colleague, Finley Stockmeyer, and we're thrilled to have you. You may have heard about Zenput from a colleague or maybe at a past company that you worked at that was using us to some degree. Maybe you've seen our content online in some way, or maybe you've even used us before and are wanting to kind of get back into things and see what's new and see how things are working. So we're thrilled to have you. We want to use the next 20 minutes or so today to give you an introduction to Zenput and a little bit of our background, how we're working with operations leaders like yourself across restaurants, convenience stores, grocery stores, from 10 locations to hundreds of thousands across the world. We're going to give you a little bit of background there and also spend a majority of the time actually making it real for you and showing how Zenput is used in stores, in field, and in headquarters to improve operations and operations execution. So let's get into it. I'll give you a little bit of a background and then pass things over to my colleague Finley for the live demo portion of the webinar. So just to set a little bit of a foundation here, our conversations with operators really start at the basics about all of the work that it takes to run a multi-unit operation really well. And it really starts with the basics, right? These three key areas: communication from headquarters to the field to the store and all across and in between. Communicating news, updates, procedures, all the things that need to happen and when they need to happen across the entire operation. Execution is obviously the biggest thing in terms of the work that's actually happening in your stores. Do your stores know what to do and what to do when and how to do it really well to deliver that best experience for your customers every day? And the final piece here about improvement and verifying that work is actually being done across the operation in the way that you expect it to, but also looking for ways to improve both at the individual store level, but then as you look to your next 10, 50, 100 locations, looking for ways to invest in the right ways. But in these conversations that we have with operators, and especially we saw these things come up in light of the things that kicked off last year, is that there's huge challenges that come up in these areas. Communicating across the organization, whether it's a simple general announcement or news about an upcoming promotion and how to prepare for it, or updates to maybe sanitization procedures that you have in place. Communicating effectively and knowing that people are actually seeing your communication is hard enough, but knowing that people are actually seeing it and taking action on it is just really hard. And doing this across the entire operation quickly is really, really tough to do, especially when you're spread out across a huge region or across multiple countries. Secondly, when it comes to the day-to-day execution of doing everything that needs to get done in stores, knowing that it's actually being done right is obviously really hard to do, right? You have field teams, maybe you have third-party auditors come in to help out, and it's all about knowing you want to feel good that work is being done the right way, that food safety processes are being done the right way, that certain work is being done at the exact time that it needs to be done. And so this is really hard. And finally here, in terms of looking for ways to improve and where to invest, again, I know a lot of you have field teams, you have auditors that come and look at, what are the opportunities to improve both at the individual store level or across the operation. But one of the big challenges that we hear is that you only get this kind of snapshot in time often, where you might have someone go visit a store and see an issue, and then you have that person go document something and have them address it. But then what about later that day or later that week or next week? And not having this kind of real-time sense of, okay, where are the issues that I need to address? And then looking beyond that and saying, okay, for the next quarter and next year, as an operations leader, you want to feel really good about where to spend your energy, right? And especially as you think about opening your next however many new locations, feeling good and having data that gives you confidence about where to invest is really hard, but really, really critical. And so this is what Zenput exists to address. Whether you're focused on food safety operations, or your focus is about creating and enforcing standard operating procedures, or maybe you're focused on the brand. Whatever your focus area is as an operations leader, we exist to help across all of these areas, from headquarters and stores and in the field, whether it's rolling out those new procedures that I've mentioned, or getting data into how what's actually happening in the stores every day, helping stores know what tasks, what activities need to happen in their store every day, and knowing how to do it really well, and even automating certain pieces of work. And so we'll get into that a little bit today as well. And finally, in the field and for areas of improvement, helping your field leaders be the coaches, know and really effectively oversee their stores from anywhere, and making it really easy to know what to improve where, and have a much closer relationship with their stores. So with that, I'm going to pass things over to Finley to give you some more real scenarios and show you how folks are actually using us every day.
Oops, sorry, I was on mute. But thanks, Pete, for kicking things off and giving everyone a high-level overview of what Zenput is. So my name is Finley Stockmeyer, and I'm an account executive at Zenput, and I work with multi-unit operators in the grocery, restaurant, and convenience store industries day in and day out. So I'm honored to be joining you all today to walk you through the platform so you can see it in action and get insight into how exactly some of the most successful companies are leveraging Zenput as a vehicle to help them drive operational excellence. So you all know the saying that the results you're looking for are rooted in consistency. Now, if you think about your best performing store, what if you could replicate those results across the rest of your stores? What would that actually look like? Now, if all of your stores were consistently performing to the highest expectations, what do you think that would mean for your business? So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in so you can see how we go about making this magic happen. So there's really two main pieces to the Zenput platform into how we do this. One is from the head office perspective on our web portal, which is what we're looking at right now. Now, this piece is used to make those initial communications, but also receive data back to understand areas of opportunity to improve and really dig into why certain stores perform better than others so that you can use that data and then turn it into action. The second piece is the mobile application, which is mainly used by field and store employees to receive that communication, but also help them manage and prioritize their day-to-day work that needs to be done. I'll get into the mobile application a little bit after we go into the web portal. So to start things off, this is what we call our heartbeat dashboard, which is what we're looking at right now. And as I'd mentioned, this is where you'll go to get a good understanding of the health of your operations and really dig deep into where the business is improving and also areas of where the business has the opportunity for improvement. So as I said, this is our heartbeat dashboard, and this is going to give you an overview of high-level KPIs where you can get a quick sense of how your business is performing day in and day out from the work that you're assigning out. So in terms of actual completion, so what I can actually see here is that to get a more granular view of the work that you're assigning out that's actually getting done, this helps you see it on a more granular level. So I can get a deeper sense of this by seeing things like, you know, okay, we're sitting at a pretty healthy completion rate for the opening checklist that has to get done to ensure that the morning shift is set up for optimal success. But it looks like there's a lot of room for improvement when it comes to our HACCP or temperature logs. So I'll know to make this an organizational wide focus on where we can improve. From a food safety perspective, I want to make sure that my guests are being served food that's not only safe to consume, but I also want to make sure that not only is it safe from a temperature perspective, but I want to make sure that the product quality tastes excellent. You know, or maybe if I'm a convenience store, I want to make sure that I'm serving the coldest beers compared to the competitor across the street. So if we're constantly missing the mark with ensuring product quality, how many customers have I lost in the past week? How many customers have I lost in the past month? The frequent no section. So in terms of ensuring quality experience for the guest, you know, that's really where store visit assessments come into play, or mystery shopper reports. So being able to take that data and really understand across the organization, where are we consistently falling behind when it comes to providing our guests with the best experience they could possibly have. I can see here that our biggest opportunity for improvement is with bathroom cleanliness. But not only that, but there seems to be a trend that cleanliness is an issue in general for us, considering the top 3 issues that we consistently miss on store audits have to do with cleanliness. So I'm starting to wonder if we're failing bathroom cleanliness 33% of the time during store audits. That could equate to a minimum of 120 days a year where my guests are experiencing this uncleanliness. So when it comes to focusing our training efforts to raise the bar and have every store become a high-performing store, I'm going to focus my efforts in training on cleanliness areas. So now that we've identified some key focuses, the big piece here is going to be on communicating and adapting to these key focuses. So our projects piece is where you're able to adapt to the needs of your business at a moment's notice for things like increased cleanliness checks or even one-time tasks such as a food product recall. Let's be real here. There's always a product recall on romaine lettuce in the food space or even tobacco products within the convenience store space. So being able to react at a moment's notice, assign out these critical tasks, and be able to track which locations are adapting and compliant with these changes helps you and your field team understand who to follow up with, who you need to have conversations with, etc. In terms of replicating best practices, I've had a lot of conversations with folks who have to, manually or verbally call each store and say, hey, there's a product recall on XYZ, please remove this. Or, hey, we've realized that it would be better if we did our cleanliness checks 4 times a day rather than 2 times a day. So we're going to start ramping those up. But After that communication, there's not really a way to assign this out as an actionable item or a way to track if your communication was actually able to move the needle with these adaptations that you're trying to make. So the projects piece is to make sure that communication is consistent across the board. So now I will move on to the mobile application really quickly. So how I'm looking at this right now is from a store perspective. The mobile application is where this communication is actually received. So how this typically works is that it's set up to represent your company hierarchy. If I'm a store employee, I'm going to receive communication and information that's relevant to my store and my store only. If I'm a field leader, I'll be able to see data for the stores that roll up to me. So how I'm looking at this right now is from a store perspective, and I can easily get a sense of, what work needs to be done, of what work needs to be done. So if you know that your best performing store does certain things at a certain time and in a certain way, you can actually set those parameters for tasks to be completed within a certain time frame so that all of your stores are receiving push notifications at the exact same time, prompting them to complete the pre-rush checklist, the HACCP log, the opening checklist, etc., at a certain time. By having that due time, it really helps the teams to easily understand by when they need to take a certain action and what action comes after that. So it really helps them to prioritize their time based on what you found to be helpful in setting each shift up for success across the board. So this really goes back to that consistency piece. If all of your stores are taking the right actions at the right time, they're all going to be ready for that morning rush that comes in, that mid-afternoon rush that comes in. So being prepared will help them to focus their efforts on the customer experience rather than having to run around saying, oh, I forgot to do these 5 to 10 things when I was supposed to. So now I have this huge rush that's come in. I'm not prepared. And instead of focusing my efforts on making the customer feel valued and feel like they're supposed to be here, I'm now having to do all of the things that I should have done beforehand. So this store level view is also going to help your field teams to be more productive and be consistent in their actions as well. So when your field team is visiting a store, how much time do they spend in the back office flipping through paperwork, binders, etc., just to see whether or not work was done? Super great use of your field team's time, right? You hired them to be checklist checkers, right? Didn't think so. So in helping stores improve, we want to shift the focus to training and development, which means that we need to get your field team the answers that they need much more quickly so that they can reallocate their efforts to what's actually going to move the needle. So by being able to see things like completion rates really quickly, or get a calendar view of work that was done and work that was not done in an instant, they're going to be able to reallocate that time to spend it with the stores on training and developing, things that can really shift their focus towards what matters most and what's actually going to move the needle. So let me go really quickly back to my store. So not only is, ensuring your store teams are consistent in their actions on a day-to-day basis going to move the needle, but ensuring your field team is also taking consistent measures in how they conduct store visits will help you ensure that the most critical factors are not being overlooked. So by having a standardized assessment that you can assign out to your field team will help them more easily conduct their visits. But through simply completing the assessment themselves, they'll also be able to easily identify coaching opportunities right then and there. So I can see that the past, 4 out of 5 times that I've been at this store, the bathroom cleanliness has been okay, but I can see that the last time I was here, we missed the mark on this, and now we're missing the mark on this again. So because we're starting to consistently miss the mark on bathroom cleanliness, I know that this is contributing to our overall cleanliness issues as an organization. So this might be an area where I really shift my focus in terms of training and developing team members, where I'm able to spend my time. I'm able to see that directly through completing an assessment time and time again. So as I start to go through this can be for a multitude of things. This doesn't just have to be for bathroom cleanliness, but it can be for product quality. This could be for marketing promotions, really any of those key focuses that you want your teams to focus on while they're at the store. You can start to set those standardizations so that you know that your field team's taking the correct actions each and every time that they're in the store. And as I start to see issues, like if there was a bathroom cleanliness issue, I could actually take a photo of that issue directly through completing this assessment, mark any sort of issues, and then because I answered this a certain way during my assessment, I can actually have this communicate out a corrective action back to the store for completion. So as I start to, let me answer the required questions really quickly. I think that was all. Okay, missed one. So this will automatically generate a report back to the store where they can actually see those issues that they missed, see follow-up tasks they have, and do timeframes. If I go back to that store that we were just at, I can actually see any sort of follow-up tasks that are due really easily and quickly. So this allows the store teams to easily identify kind of what they need, what actions they need to take, and by what time they need to take these actions. And then because I'm a store team and I can easily identify what actions I need to take, as I'm going through the resolution of these corrective action plans, the field member will actually be automatically notified as I'm completing these issues on the spot. So let me go back to the store, or let me go back to the web portal really quickly. So as the store teams and field members are completing their day-to-day work, all of that data is going to go back up the chain to the head office, where I'm able to actually see all of this data and make more informed decisions on where to drive right behavior. So for those of you on the call that have 10, 100, 1,000 locations, you can look at individual submissions if you want. If you feel like that's a super great use of your time, you can look at those individual submissions. However, we want to give you the ability to get that information much more quickly and allow you to see this information from a macro perspective, because this is what's going to help you identify where exactly we're having consistent issues across the board and how that differs from what our expectations are and kind of where we're improving and where we're needing more help. So from this dashboard perspective on the reporting piece, I'm able to see on a monthly, quarterly, or even annual basis the health of the business in terms of where we're improving and where we're getting worse. So I can see that, I know that cleanliness is our biggest issue. I could see that on the Heartbeat dashboard, but I want to actually get a sense of what that actually looks like. So as I'm able to get a more granular view, I can actually click into this and actually see every time that we are failing bathroom cleanliness, which store that was linked to, what that actually looks like, etc. So I can actually see, is there a consistent issue across the board in terms of why we're failing bathroom cleanliness? But this can also help with things like product quality. If one of my biggest pain points is product quality, I can get a good sense of why the product quality is failing, what that looks like, and where we need to train. Or if I have a pain point with making sure my promotions are set up, I can get a clear view into seeing that all of my locations have set up for that new promotion. The signage is properly placed, it's consistent across the board, the merchandise is set up so that when the customer walks in, they're gonna see that buy one, get one promotion. They're gonna see that signage set up so that I know that I'm reaping the full benefits and the ROI that I've put into, the effort that I've put into these promotions. I'm reaping the full benefits of that ROI. So this can be used for a multitude of things. So when talking about reporting, there's a couple of additional pieces that Zenput can help you with. In terms of automating some of that lower value work for your teams, we can also have the food label printers, which helps your teams to automate the management of product expiration dates. Rather than having them manually write on day dots or manually write on stickers, spending hours and hours each and every day, we want to help automate that process so that they can shift their focus towards more significant work. But we also want to help you understand, at what time of day are my teams, prepping items? Are they prepping them in the morning before the rush, or are they spending time in the middle of the, afternoon rush having to prep these items? And what is that actually taking away from? Are our customers' complaints coming in that service was too long because my teams are spending time in the middle of that rush having to prep these items? And then the sensors piece, this is actually going to automate having to check your freezers and your coolers and your hotlines. But by having these sensors automatically pull that data into the reports every 10 to 15 minutes, it'll automate that process, but also give your maintenance teams and your field leaders a good indication of whether or not equipment's up to par, and if we're serving safe food or we're serving the coldest beer, or whether or not our products within a compliant temperature. Being able to make sure that all of our equipment across the board is up to par with our expectations and within that compliance threshold. So I know that we went over a lot today. It was more of just a general overview of kind of how Zenput is used by leading operators across the grocery, restaurant, and convenience segment, in helping them understand, okay, if I have this best performing store, what are they doing differently? At what time are they doing things? And what does their product look like? What does their cleanliness look like? And how can I replicate that across my organization so that all 10, 100, 1,000, 2,000 of my locations are taking consistent action and also performing just as well? How do I first communicate this out? Second, communicate this out. First communicate this out. Second, have my store and field teams receive this communication. And third, be able to track whether or not they're taking the right actions at the right time. This is where Zenput really bridges the gap in that communication, but also helps you understand where your biggest opportunities for improvement are. So with that said, I will open the floor for a little Q&A session.
Yeah, thanks, Finley. That was awesome. And we do have some questions coming through. You'll note in the chat box here on the side, by the way, as Finley mentioned, we only had time to cover sort of at a high level some of the features and capabilities here, but would love to show you more. So if you want a more personalized demo, we'd love to set that up for you. So feel free to check out the link in the chat box there. We're going to share a link here to our blog as well, where we share things like best practices and other things that help you can see just how other customers are using us. So we don't have a lot of time, but Finley, we did have one question just around who's actually using us. So the question is, are all staff in stores actually using Zenput, or is it just specific? Is it one store, like one license for the store? And so maybe you can touch on that higher, since we talked about headquarters, field, store level usage. I think they were trying to ask, is every single employee in the store maybe using like an iPad, right? Or how is it kind of used?
Mm-hmm. Great question. So typically we see most of our customers have a centralized tablet or two at the store level, where all of the employees that are working on that shift will be able to collaborate and complete their work, maybe manage some incidents as well on that centralized tablet. So this isn't, it's not just for one single person to use or just for the manager to use, but it's really for everybody that has to take some sort of action throughout the day, giving the employees the ability to complete all of their work that has to be done. So it's really more of a collaborative effort in allowing the whole organization to do their work. And that's not just limited to the store level. When it comes to the field level, this could be your area coaches or district managers. This could be your maintenance team. This could be anybody from food safety, or even your marketing team. If they have to go out and make special visits to stores, really anybody in the organization can collaborate and complete day-to-day work that's tied to the store level in Zenput.
Awesome. Okay, yeah, with that, I think we want to make sure you can get back to your busy days. And of course, if you have any other questions or want to set up some personal demo time with us, please do get in touch. Again, we're happy to answer any other questions and show you more details. It's been great having you join. We look forward to connecting with you soon.
Yeah, thanks everyone. I know that this was more of a general overview and I had to really speak to a generic audience. But if you're interested in having a more tailored conversation where we can kind of gauge a sense of what your specific challenges are and what you're needing in an operations platform like this, feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to schedule time so that you can get a better sense on, well, how can this help me in my business personally? So thanks again, everyone.